Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Mona's Rants. I am your host, Mona Shake. Happy Weedsday, everybody. And even better, Happy Justice Day. At least partial justice. Very, I have like mixed emotions, I think a lot of people do. That Derek Chauvin got charged, got convicted, guilty on all three charges. But, just like his family said, and I said that yesterday when I had Tawala Sharpa on, that, as good as it is that we have this justice, it's also sad that, it doesn't bring George Floyd back. And plus the hundreds and thousands of innocent Black men and women that have been killed in this country and never saw justice. So I think this is just the beginning of seeking some kind of justice. We still have so much legislation that needs to be monitored, that needs to be changed. So, to discuss all the details about this verdict and what happens from this point on, our returning beloved Johnny Wendell. How are you? Johnny, how are you feeling today?
Relieved.
Yeah.
I'm relieved. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
The verdict was better than I thought it was going to be. I had anticipated that the manslaughter charge they had him on. Okay, that was nothing. Yeah. And we know that the third-degree murder charge was probably a slam dunk because remember last year he offered to plead guilty to third-degree murder and do 10 years as long as he wasn't going to face any civil penalties. In other words, lose all of the money that he'd squirreled away, right? So I thought you're going to get the manslaughter and you're going to get third-degree murder. You're never going to get second-degree murder. It was like, look, they did it in less than 24 hours deliberation.
It's fast.
The only thing that prevented the state, according to the Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, going for a first-degree murder charge was they knew that at that point you're pushing it. Chauvin would had to have been proved to have a long-seated beef or disagreement in his relationship with George Floyd. Remember, they knew each other.
That's correct.
They worked in the same bar, right?
That's correct.
So if they had really wanted to go out on a limb and try for first-degree murder, that this was a long-standing beef, that would have been tough. Also, the fact that at no point while Floyd was still able to communicate did he say, look, Derek, get off my back. Literally, you're killing me, Derek. So first-degree murder would have been tough. But second-degree murder, he can get 40 years. He ain't going to live 40 years in the pen. Okay.
That's right.
I don't think they're going to give him the full 40. I think probably he will get something like 26 or something like that, so that he has to serve 80% of that. And that's a long ass sentence. That's 21 years. So justice was served. Look, I understand when people say this doesn't bring George Floyd back, but this is a murder case. You accept that from Jump Street, right? That there is no actual justice, even if you got to pick. So even if somebody called me up and said, "Okay, we're from the state of Minnesota, Mr. Angel Wendell, and we'd like to ask you a favor," and I'd be like, "Sure, anything from my friends in Minnesota. What is it? Would you, in the course of justice, plant that sharp, damaged right knee of yours in the back of Derek Chauvin for 9 minutes and 30 seconds while he's restrained? Because that's justice." My answer to them is that's not justice. There is no such thing as justice in a capital crime. George Floyd should be alive and well. He was, right, by all accounts, a lovable person. Okay, He certainly had, a lot of family and friends. He had issues like anybody else, but he was an affable human being. Derek Chauvin is not. Right. Derek Chauvin has been cited by discipline, has had 17 or 18 ticks against him of disciplinary action. He should never have been in the position he was in. He should have been let go years ago. The fact that the police chief fired the 4 looky-loo cops, the Chief Arredondo said, you guys knew what he was doing is wrong. You didn't do anything. Right. The people who are filming you can't expect them to charge Chauvin. I mean, I was thinking about that when I was watching this, going like, would I have gotten right up in Chauvin's grill and said, get off him right now, so that they would have had to have pulled their guns on me? Because maybe then he would have gotten off him for a second. You know? I don't know. I mean, it's not because I'm not really brave or courageous. It's just that there are certain things that freak me out. Like if I can't watch somebody die like this. Yeah. You know, and the witnesses that on their phones that taped all of this, which ultimately is what brought on the guilty conviction, on the guilty verdict.
That's correct.
They're damaged for life. They're going to sit and wonder, why didn't I just say, fuck it, put my shoulder down, charge, knock him off, George Floyd? What were they going to do? Shoot me? They're not going to shoot me for that. You know, yeah, they'll cuff me and I'll go to jail for attacking a cop, but Floyd would be alive. Right. They're thinking, I could have done more. It's like, no, they couldn't. They weren't armed. And the last thought, I mean, we can go into the specifics of the case, is fine, is that, Mona, imagine for a minute that this is 2 people arguing with each other, 2 civilians, right? And one knocks the other down, and then gets them in some sort of wrestling hold where they can't move, and then jams their knee into their thorax or whatever, and they can't breathe, and they aren't restrained by handcuffs, but they can't move. Right. Say one weighs 300 pounds, one weighs 130, right? Right. It's like, if I'm not wearing a blue uniform, I don't have a badge and a hat and a gun and a license from a municipality or a state to be part of the legal machinery. I'm just somebody who's killing somebody with my weight and my knee. Why am I any different than Derek Chauvin? That's right. I'm not. He's what? Because he's a police officer. So, well, it's going to be difficult to convict him. It's like, okay, I have an idea. Let's pretend he's not a police officer. What did he do that would not be construed reasonably as second-degree murder by anybody and everybody? Right. I mean, he murdered George Floyd. He killed him. There was no reason to kill him. Therefore, it was murder. Was George Floyd going to miraculously roll him over with his cuffed hands and beat the crap out of Derek Chauvin and 4 cops with their guns drawn? Hell no. Goodness no. Okay. Was he going to get up and run anywhere? No. Right. He wasn't going nowhere. I mean, he was, on the video, on the Bodycam video, which I'm sure you've seen, he's saying, he's like, I'm claustrophobic. He's like, please, I'm claustrophobic. Mr. Officer, please, I'm claustrophobic. So they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to roll the windows down. He's like, no, Mr. Officer, you don't understand. My claustrophobia is really bad. Mr. Officer, please. He's like pleading. He's pleading for his life. He's like, please, try to understand. And then they, and then, of course, then he gets cuffed, and then, Chauvin is on his neck. I want to ask you, Johnny, as happy as I am with the verdict, I'm also sad about the fact that there are hundreds and thousands of other Black men and women that have never gotten justice for their murders, right? Do you think this is by the way, do you know how many Americans a year are killed by the police? How many, Johnny? 1,000. 1,000 Americans are killed by those who are supposedly there to protect and serve, but they kill 1,000 Americans a year. Wow. Okay. What that means is they kill about 20 Americans a week are killed by police. That's right. You're going to tell me with a straight face, that George Floyd was, in an isolated, peculiar case. No, of course not. No. You're going to tell me that the execution of Breonna Taylor, which it certainly was an execution, you're just firing blindly into somebody's house. That's execution. Okay, they executed her. They murdered Elijah McClain. He was murdered.
That's right.
Okay. He is a harmless kid on the spectrum.
That's
Who
right.
just wanted to make the world a better place. He played violin for cats.
I mean,
He's not violent. I mean, and this idiocy with the 20-year-old now, like pull out the taser and accidentally pull out my 9. The funniest thing I've seen, and it's actually kind of hilarious in a way, in this new case with Deion Wright.
Dante Wright.
Deion Wright's a basketball player. Dante Wright.
Yeah.
Is that Pat Robertson, of all people, the 700 Club, Pat Robertson, one of the oldest, most far right-wing extremists in America, did an episode of the 700 Club with a 9mm in one hand and a taser in the other. And old Pat must be pushing 90 at this point, looks at the camera and goes, "You're going to tell me you can't tell the difference between these two things in your hands?"
Right.
He said, "Police brutality in this country is insane, and there has to be reform."
That's
right.
When
Pat Robertson says that, it's like, clearly what it means is that a lot of people who are hyper-religious, older people, have had enough.
Right.
They're like, when we were kids, the police were your protectors, but now they're crazy. They go around shooting kids. It's like, they're not stupid. I think of my 87-year-old mother-in-law, just love the police. She don't love the police no more.
Mm-hmm.
She knows now. She's like, be careful, stay away from them. If she had black friends, and she does, living in Cleveland, she has lots of them, she'd be like, "Listen, you can't visit me in the evening, because you're walking around at night in this neighborhood and the Lakewood cops show up. I don't know what's going to happen, so we can't do that." She understands, what we're considered as benign and positive. When I think of I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up in Newton and Wellesley, Massachusetts, 2 suburbs. I know I'm talking too much, Mona. I'm sorry. I am.
Johnny, I love for you to talk. That's not the issue.
There was a crossing guard policeman when I was in kindergarten and first grade and second grade in Waban, Massachusetts. I doubt anybody listening to this knows where Waban, Massachusetts is. It's a little tiny village in the middle of the city of Newton. Waban is very quaint. It's where my parents had their second house. Anyway, this crossing guard was this guy who looked just like Robert Young. Robert Young was the star of Father Knows Best, and he was Marcus Welby, MD. That was Robert Young, a famous actor, very paternal, and he's like the ideal dad. In real life, he's supposedly an asshole, but whatever, that happens. But this John Wayne...
It is Hollywood, Johnny. It is Hollywood.
I know. This John Wayne, Robert Young, nice Irish-American police officer with a big smile. It's like you looked at him and you thought, we're safe. He's looking out for all of us. The thing is we're all white folks. Admittedly, in that neighborhood, we were all Jewish American white folks. So I don't know what this cop thought about us on that level, but he was very protective of us. And you knew like the police were your friends. You could call them; they'd show up. I mean, sometimes the LAPD are your friends. Sometimes they show up quick. They're useful. They're nice.
Sometimes.
They're polite. Sometimes they aren't. Sometimes they're a right pain in the ass.
Right.
But on the other hand, I'm an old, pale white man. Okay.
Right.
Popo's not going to shoot me as I reach for my wallet to get my driver's license out for them. By the way, they pull me over. My hands are on the dashboard. And yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. No fool.
Yeah.
It's like
I got pulled over by a cop and he asked me for my number. So that was nice. And then didn't give me a ticket for speeding. So I guess sometimes being cute helps out, Johnny.
Well, you are that, yes. You're a beautiful woman. If I were a policeman, it'd be very difficult for me to write you a ticket. I'd be like, nah, it's like you just go about your business, but do stop by the speed trap every so often. No, I don't like that idea. I don't like that idea that they're doing that. That's abusing their power. But
yes, exactly.
I did tell you about, just trying to get to KTLK. I used to be on at noons on Saturday and Sunday for the longest time. I was on 12 to 2.
Yeah.
And, it was like 11:15, 11:20. Something had come up and I was late. And I'm like a floor in it down Glendale Boulevard. And the popo pulls me over. I'm like, oh, no. And I think I even called Phil or whomever was board opping at the time. I may be a little late, so have something ready.
Yeah.
Cop walks up to me and he goes, do you know why I pulled you over? And I said, hell yeah, I was speeding.
Yeah.
Went, what? I said, I was speeding. Yes, I know I was speeding. I just shrugged like, I'm in a hurry.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a speed trap here. It was foolish of me. And now you're going to write me up. And all right. He looked at me like, what the hell is this? And he said, looked around and he said, puts his head in the window and he goes, look, everybody tries to lie their way out of these tickets. You are the first person who ever said, yeah, I was speeding. Yeah, give me a ticket. I understand it's going to put points on my insurance is going to go up. I get it. But you know what? That's part of part of life. And by the way, I'm not making this up. This happened. It was a young guy, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, forget it. He goes, I'm not even going to write you up in a warning. He says, but you got to understand, he told me from 11 to 2 every day for a few months, there were going to be speed traps on this little strip. He said, there've been accidents. He said, so just know that we are here, even if you can't see us. And if it isn't me, I can't help you the next time. That was once. Yeah. I'm out in the desert, in the middle of nowhere. Well, not right, quite in the middle of nowhere, at the Joshua Tree Bar and Grill, right? And to take a left onto 29 Palms Highway to get back to the freeway, you get in the left lane. So I did. And I thought, I'm a little low on gas. I think I'll just cross the street and go into the gas station. So I did not go left from the left-hand turn into the gas station. The CHP guy was right behind me. Up go the lights. And he goes, how many drinks have you had tonight? And I tried not to laugh at him. And I was like, you mean with alcohol in them, right? He goes, yes. And I said, I said something along the lines of, I said, I don't think I've had a drink since before you were born, officer.
Wow.
He goes, oh, really? And I said, yeah, I think it had been like 33 years at that point, or 32 years. And he was like, and he was a kid. He was like, really? And I was like, yeah. He said, well, why did you do that? And I was like, I thought, I'm right at the gas station. I don't want to stop in Yucca Valley. I'll just stop here. And I said, which is stupid because I know that these guys, sometimes they lift the credit card numbers off the gas pumps, which is something that you guys should look into, by the way, which they did to us. We got identity thefted and the thing turned up in Arkansas, So he's like, all right. He goes, okay, you're not drinking. He goes, if you're going to turn though. And he goes, didn't you see me behind you? I said, yeah, I just, no harm, no foul. Right. So we're talking and he sees, just shooting the breeze. And this girl, they're driving down 29 Palms Highway, leans out the window, goes, oh, look, a cop. And he goes, I got to go. Right after them. And I'm thinking like, he was funny. He was great. I said, that traffic jam on the way back because it was around Christmas time and the big mall there in Cabazon, that gigantic.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, it was backed up for hours. I said, is there a way around that? And he goes, no. He said, you just sit through it. It's not, he said, I was just there. It's not that bad. He was lying. It was like an hour and a half to get through there, because it's like, it's the one place out there where everybody who lives out there, it's like, let's get all our gifts on one day.
Of course, people wait till the last minute. Johnny, I wanna bring the conversation back to a couple of things to reality. I want to talk about a couple of things. Sure. Well, and just a commentary about your story. I think you and I, even me as a woman of color, we have this privilege where when the cop pulled us over, we're not fearing for our lives. That's a privilege that you and I both have, right? I mean,
not entirely. It's like
not entirely. It's not like it would be for Tawala. What it would be for Bo Kelly.
No, it wouldn't be the same. No, it would be the same for Mo.
I have a friend of mine.
But by the way, it'd be even worse.
It would be the same. It wouldn't. They have a higher level of fear than we would ever have.
Oh, and you know who should have a higher level of fear than Mo and Tawala? Mo's stepkids, Tawala's son. Their fear level should be even higher than,
That's
Mo and
right.
Dwala are grown-ups.
That's right.
The police look at them and they go, these guys are kind of intelligent. What if one of them recognized that Mo was on KFI? And it's like, right. I'm not going to do anything to this guy. That's the end of my life.
That's right.
It's just like, I never gave it a second thought, being a white man, that the policeman would ever brutalize me as long as I just answered his questions. If I wasn't a goddamn penis to the guy, I'd be okay. But what I learned, interestingly enough, as a child, when I was a pop-off and a big mouth and drank too much and drove, which is not a good combination, was that on my driver's license, it said where I was from. It's the town where I lived, Wellesley, Massachusetts. Well, Wellesley, Massachusetts is where lots and lots of judges and DAs live. So when the popo would pull us over, by the way, I never knew this until I was an adult. My friend Candy, my oldest friend in the world, this woman Candy, lives in Connecticut. And she said, don't you understand that having that Wellesley on the driver's license, they wouldn't do anything to you because they didn't know who your dad was or your uncle was, or your neighbor was. I didn't know any of those people. We were
it was just
lower middle class, It's right. Like we didn't have any of the connections,
Right, just the clout of living in a certain neighborhood. But Johnny, I wanted to ask you now that the verdict has been announced. Do you think there's going to be any change in legislation? You think?
What really would make the most sense would be if, and I think Biden can do this without the Senate. I think he can just do this. I think he can create this, would be to create a civil rights commission that would oversee lethal incidents involving all peace officers, not just federal peace officers, but all of them, like a federal commission, and have it not be lawmen, not cops, not even judges, but that it would be civilians who adequately represented what the United States was like, say like a 12-person panel, and that they would make recommendations on a federal level per case. For example, let's take the one that makes me angrier than any other, the one that in Colorado, Elijah McClain. I know a lot of special needs kids, and to me, what they did to him is, you're now in eugenics territory. You're now in final solution territory when you do what those cops did. If there was like a tribunal, and they said there was no reason at all to use any force on this child, okay, right, you are facing 25 to 40 years in the federal pen for this now. This is now a federal issue. They may have to enact some kind of civil rights legislation in order for that to pass, and they're never going to get 10 Republicans to sign on to that. But on the subject of Democrat versus Republican in this particular issue, I think that what you're starting to see now, Mona, and you know me well enough to know that, peculiarly enough, as cynical as I sound, I'm very optimistic about things generally. I tend to be. Yes. I believe that you will be headlining a 4-night stand at the Comedy Store sometime soon. I just know.
You're so sweet, Johnny. Thank you.
You will be on Jimmy Kimmel. You will be a regular.
Oh,
okay, it's coming. Okay. I believe, from what I can anecdotally and from what I see, that there is a sea change in America, that we only see this Trump-like performative outrage from the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Matt Gaetzes and the Jim Jordans and the Paul Gossers of America, and we go like, oh God, Trump got 4 million people to vote for him. But I think that a fair amount of people who voted for Donald Trump can't stand this stuff anymore. They might have voted for him for other reasons. I don't know what. I'm in the what? I'm in the show. Yes, I know that. Hello. For the life of me, I have my theories on why he did so well in the popular vote. But
yeah. I mean, Johnny, my thing is that, this federal commission you're talking about that would oversee. I mean, Tawala was telling me yesterday that in New York, they passed a law, I think over the weekend, that anytime a cop does something stupid like the way Derek Chauvin did, that the cop himself would be responsible financially and otherwise for what he has done. So no longer hiding behind the blue wall, no longer like, oh, the state has to pay out these massive payouts that has to come out of the taxpayers' money. So you can do
even better. You can do even better than that.
Okay.
How much did the city of Minneapolis or Hennepin County, assuming it's one of those two entities, how much did they pay George Floyd's family? What was his judgment?
I don't think they had any. Yeah,
they have.
There's a judgment. They have? What's the judgment?
$27 million.
It's not a small much change. It's a pretty.
That's a pretty significant chunk of change. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It is not fair to the taxpayers of Minneapolis or of Hennepin County, which is
precisely
what Minneapolis is. Okay.
Precisely.
It's not fair for them to be on the hook for this. On
That's
the
correct.
other hand,
yeah.
If the police simply refuse to act by the Constitution of the United States, then the $27 million comes out of the police budget year 2020. Okay, so at 2020, there's this big $27 million in red ink. See, I used to balance the family had a brokerage business, and I was taught how to balance books. I know how to do that. Sure. I think I do. I probably can't remember, but I did. So can you imagine? You have that great big we called the blotter, that big green thing, right? Because you did it by hand then. It wasn't on a Excel or any of that back then.
Yeah.
You imagine one day you have to input 27 comma and all them zeros, right? Now, let's say now that at the end of the year, you have to come up with that $27 million, okay? And the taxpayers say, no.
We're not paying for it.
I'm not paying for you. This is, it's coming out of your budget.
That's
in
right.
2021. $27 million. I mean, we won't be able to afford anything. Yeah. How about that? Isn't that funny? It's weird, officer, but that's how everybody else lives. Okay. Right. You don't get a pass on this one. Okay. Right. $27 million. We're going to have to cut everyone's salary by $10,000 a year. That we'll never have any cops. Fine. Okay. I know that in Camden, New Jersey, have you ever been in Camden, New Jersey?
I sure have. I grew up in Jersey City.
Jersey City's on the other side of the state. Camden's across the river from
whatever. I've been to Camden. It's in Jersey. It's in the state of New Jersey.
I don't know what's in the water in Pakistan.
I haven't been to Pakistan in so many years, Johnny.
The point being, Mona, is that Camden is an extremely impoverished, rundown little city across the river from Philadelphia. Okay.
Yeah.
Camden defunded their cops. They'd had the people protected. What are you kidding? It's like, no, we're not protected. They defunded the police, right? Crime went down 30% because it's like the police that they rehired, retrained, that's right. And they got people who weren't on the job for 35, 40 years doing nothing or beating up kids or rousting people or shaking down liquor store owners. See, I guess Camden, I think liquor stores, I was going to say Packies. That's not an insult at Pakistanis. A Packie is a package store in Massachusetts. Are you going to the Packie? Meaning, are you going to the liquor store? Yeah, I got to go get a 6. Yeah. There's a patty tonight, so I'm going to go to the Packie before it closes.
So you have to get in the cat to go to the patty.
You got to go to but I'm not going to drink before I get in the car. What do you think? I'm insane? I don't want to. By the way, it's what it's called in Massachusetts, a DWI. It's not called a DUI. It's I believe it is DWI. So it's called a DWI.
Wow.
What happened? Wow. What? Look at him. Sully's at the bus stop. Why is he not in his car? Didn't you know he got his third DWI?
Third
DWI. Third DWI. How the hell did he stay out of the can? Well, he lawyered up. It cost him $6K. You know. I can still do. I can't believe I still remember all this stuff. You know.
Johnny, it's in the blood. It's in the water. It's in the Wellesley water that you drink.
Oh, it's in the water. It's not the Pakistani water to confuse 2 points in New Jersey that are 150 miles away from each other.
I've been here over 22 years. I think that water left my system long time ago.
Yeah, well, I've been in California 32 years. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So I have no DNA that is tainted by Massachusetts.
You have no DWI. There's no DWI here whatsoever. There's no DWI.
No DWI for me. No DWI for me.
No DWI. No DWI. No, Johnny, you know.
No DWI in Boston. No DWI in Karachi.
No DWI in Karachi. Well, they don't even do DWI in Karachi. They're just like, just go for it.
No, they smoke keef.
We have good ganja is what we have.
That's right. And hash. You have hashish. Yeah. What are you toking up right now?
What are you talking about?
What is that? Is that a spleef? Look, because it's 420. You're smoking weed. You're partaking of the sacred herb.
I didn't say what it is. It's just 420, Johnny. Carry on.
She's thinking to herself, I know him from somewhere, but I don't. Yeah, maybe it's because he works at the Jack in the Box, because I'm really hungry now. By the way,
I may or may not be after this, Johnny.
No, I have to say, it's going to be, it's 2021, right? So this September will be 36 years without alcohol for me. Okay, 36 years without a drink.
For you.
Almost 37 without the herb. I never like to smoke pot. You know, I know it's 420. I am for the legalization. I'm for the legalization of all recreational drugs. It's not the government's business what you do.
Agreed.
But
and doing drugs is not a crime. So that too.
No. I mean, look, if you're gifted, if you're lucky enough to be one of the millions of sperms in that particular shot out of your dad's nuts, okay, and it bashed through into mama's egg, and you became a human being, you're special. Automatically, which means this is your life. You can do what you want. And I'm not going to break into song, on that one.
I mean, you can.
And I do what I want. It's my mind, and I'll think what I want. Show me I'm wrong.
About that, Johnny. The testimony of a 9-year-old was really what did Chauvin in, which is freaking fascinating. A testimony of a 9-year-old. 9-year-old saying, I heard, a 9-year-old saying, I heard the paramedics say, get your knee off of him. Get your knee off of him. That's what fucked up Derek Chauvin. Like, he was fucked.
That wasn't there were two others. One, it was that Chief Arredondo clearly wanted this guy to roast in hell. As far as the chief was concerned, you are a disgrace.
Yeah.
You're a stormtrooper. You're not a policeman. Okay. Do you understand that you work for the Floyd family? You're not in opposition to them automatically because of whatever reason. But I think the testimony that absolutely destroyed him was when they went down that road. Like, this guy had fentanyl in his system. He was a substance abuser. In other words, he was a big, scary black junkie, and he got what was coming to him, right? Mm-hmm. That's what was implied, right? Right. So then they have the girlfriend comes on, and she's got substance abuse issues too, and she breaks down. We're trying to work through it. It's like, you don't get it. It's like, we don't want to be like this.
That's right.
It's just the way we are.
That's right.
That's right. It's it's like that was it.
Addiction is not a crime, right? Addiction is not a crime.
No,
you don't ask when you're born to be like, give me the addictive gene. You're just fucking born with it. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like that. Listen, I have friends who have different kind of addictions, and we talk about their addictions, and it's just something you're born with. Look, Johnny, I have been through a lot of bullshit and trauma in my life, but I have never been like, oh my God, if I don't smoke this or drink that, I wouldn't know what to do with myself, right? Because I don't have the addictive gene. I have other problems in my life, but I don't have the addictive gene, and that's a real fucking thing. That's a real fucking thing, right?
Mona, how is it that I know exactly how many days I've been sober? Why do you think that is?
It's I'm sure it's hard to keep tabs of the demon.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's that gene that you're talking about, is commingled with COVID vaccine floating through my body as we speak. Okay. See, my addictive personality, which is created by some chemical imbalance, is right now doing the merengue with the Moderna vaccine. So, I've been like an alcoholic and a drug addict since I was a teenager. I'm an inactive one.
Yes.
But it's like, and this idea, when they went after George Floyd for that, during
that's
the trial,
right.
I was sitting there watching this going like, I hate these people.
Yeah.
It's like you want to like the expert that they had, was talking about, that fentanyl was in his system. It's like, so
okay. Right.
It's like was he completely out of his mind? No, he was a little aggravated because he knew that he was going to have to deal with the criminal justice system over a goddamn counterfeit $20 bill. He was, if anything, and I've never heard anybody say this, but I was looking at George Floyd, watching these videotapes, and it's like, I understand. He's mad at himself. It's like, God damn, why did I do this? I am such a screw up, but screw ups don't deserve to be choked to death.
That's correct.
Over 2,000 pennies.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. That's just you don't kill somebody over that. But I want to get back to something that we touched on earlier, which is the change in attitude, I think, in America about a lot of this. I think that what you're seeing now, and I was talking to a friend of mine online about this last night. I just said, we are approaching in America the point where all of these accepted as standards and facts that really aren't all topple at the same time. There was a wonderful movie that was made years ago about the singing group, The Temptations. I assume you know who those people were, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. You're a kid. I don't know. Hey, they had most of their hits before you were born. So, come on. Anyway, there was a bit where the Temptations were playing in Alabama in the movie, and it says 1964. And the black kids were on one side and the white kids were on the other side. 1965, they're all dancing together. Okay. All it took was a Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. And for people in Alabama, who had killed freedom riders, 3 years before that, George Wallace standing in the doorway of the University of Alabama saying segregation forever, by 1965, 66, with racism still there. Alabama is a deeply racist place still 55 years later, but the law changed. The law didn't hold up. Nearly half of Alabama's state troopers are African Americans. Okay. It is true that as you get away from Birmingham and you get away from the bigger cities, especially the ones with sizable black populations across the middle of the state, it's all white folks, they're deeply immersed in hundreds of years of black suppression. They believe it is in their best interests to keep black people down because there's some kind of threat to their position in life, which is, if you've ever been in any of those places, their position in life is not great,
Right.
But at least I'm better than somebody, right? That's how they look at it.
Right.
The fact is, though, is that you're talking about over the course of a few years, you have people who now can drink from whatever water fountain they want. They can eat in any restaurant they want. You can't do the things you used to do to them. It's now stopped. It's verboten. There's still racism. There's still sundown laws of sorts, but they can't be institutionally enforced anymore, because the center, Mona, it's at a certain point, anything that is a castle that's on a foundation of bullshit eventually falls into its own moat.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
I think that's what you were seeing now. It's like, back to the issue of why did so many people vote for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's a buffoon and he's a bigot, is I think that, like, the main reason Donald Trump got 74 million votes is because it's 2020 and people haven't had anything to do for 6 months. This is a big event, being able to vote. At least I'm taking action. I'm doing something, right? So, turnout was
a little deeper than that, Johnny. It's a little deeper than that. It's about seeing someone up there who talks and looks and behaves like you do, so you feel like you belong. You feel like you're represented. It's about representation. These people feel represented by this asshole. Oh, I'm an asshole? That guy's an asshole too. I connect with that. I get it. He gets me.
I understand that. But the point is that then how do you account for, all right, Trump did 11 million votes better the second time than the first, but the person he was running against did 15 million and a half votes better than the woman that he replaced, right? So you say, okay, how is that? What is the proximate cause for this? What's the reason for this? I suspect that one reason why Donald Trump did so much better in 2020 that he did in 2016 popular vote wise, he did considerably worse in every other way. Was that you had people that might have voted third party, or they didn't vote at all, and they lived in blue areas, and they wanted to make themselves heard one last time. These are people who like the idea that you had this stupid, buffoonish, loud, crass, crude, classless, stupid ignoramus of a dope as president of the United States, because it proves that if you have money and you're white, you don't have to be good at anything.
That's
okay.
Right.
I mean, they elected George W. Bush for the same reason.
Right.
It's just like, he's a rich white man. I'm white and I wish I was rich. Okay, so I'm at least halfway like them.
Sure.
Some not like that,
Sure.
nonsense.
He's a successful businessman. No, he's not.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. But it doesn't make any. He successfully portrays one on television.
Sure.
It's like Ronald Reagan successfully portrayed a war heroes. And he was seen as he's a great actor. It's like he's like John Wayne, a war hero. It's like John Wayne and Ronald Reagan didn't go anywhere near combat. It's like, I'm sorry, Sony Studios or whatever they were called back in the 40s out in Culver City, where they made all those films. It's like, sorry, that's not Normandy. That's not Iwo Jima. Do you understand? It's a movie set.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's not like these guys are in El Alamein in Egypt.
That's right.
It's 110 degrees out, and the Germans and the Italians are coming at you in waves. And if we got to retreat back across the Nile, we're screwed. That's the end. We're not moving. Right. And then when the British beat the Germans and the Italians at El Alamein, for all intents and purposes, World War II ended then, because then it's like, they're not invulnerable. They can get beat. And they started beating them all the time, and I suspect that what is going to happen with a lot of the right is that there will be an El Alamein type election in which they are supposed to win, and the tide of the battle is turning, and they are going to surge forward and conquer all, as they inevitably do, right? But the votes aren't there anymore. You can tell now with the level of desperation to suppress votes, especially like in Georgia and Arizona and in Florida, that these guys know their numbers up. It's like, want to know what a musician always, everything always devolves back to the music business and music, right? It's like, if you know that you haven't sold as many records as you did 10 years ago, and your draw keeps going down, you have to invent some kind of a way to make up the difference income wise.
Right.
So, you know, and that's what the Republicans are doing, is that they're trying to say, okay, you know, we're not drawing as well as we used to. It's like when in 1980, you know, all these baby boomers were now out of college and trying to make money, and they're all white, and then there isn't as much money as their parents were making, and they had to blame somebody. And Reagan said, well, you know, it's those welfare queens, you know, that drive welfare Cadillacs. He claimed there was some woman in Wisconsin that was a welfare queen. She wasn't. There was no such person, right? But Republicans figured it out with Reagan, and then with the first George Bush, is if you keep playing to this idea that the government disproportionately favors people of color over white people, and they're spending your tax money on food stamps, and they're churning out zillions of kids, and they're bringing anchor babies over the border or whatever, chain migration. I can't keep all this crap straight. As long as you play on white grievance, you've got Whitey by the short and curlies, right? But the problem is now it's 2020. It's 2021 now. And the next election's next year. By next year, over 40% of the United States is going to be non-white. Okay. Right. Secondly, the Republican Party's chief opponent, the Democratic Party, realizes you don't go after high school graduate white folks anymore. The white people you go after are educated, because they hear all of this dog whistle propaganda stuff, and they're like, no. Right. You fooled my dad with that stuff. Okay. Right. But you don't fool me. You know, it's like half my damn friends are non-white. Okay. Right. A quarter of them are lesbian and gay. Right. Okay. It's like, you know, they're Muslims, they're Jews, they're Mexicans, they're from Somalia, they're from Nepal, you know, they're from Sri Lanka. And you know what? They like this, you know, sometimes they root for teams I hate, but other than that, they're okay. Right. You know? I mean, really, why do you think Orange County here in California is mostly blue? Because it's mostly because it's Mexican. You know? And it's very, I mean, big Middle Eastern population there, big South Asian, very big Asian population, Orange County, very big. Yeah, Johnny, you know, yeah, I've been to Little Cairo. I'm aware. Yeah, I've been to Little Cairo. I actually wanted to talk to you about, you know, you brought up a really good point about being a white man in America, and just the privilege, and hey, he's white, I'm white, I get it, you know, we connect and bond on that. You know, Dante Wright's killer is a female white cop who couldn't fucking differentiate between a gun and a taser. They got her ass real fast, Johnny. Real fast. Okay. No. Don't play the sexist card. Okay.
No. But I want to bring a point. I want to make a point.
All right.
Derek Chauvin, the world had to go to freaking like battle basically and chant George Floyd's name around the world. Okay. You had truck drivers in Pakistan who did artwork of George Floyd's image and write things in Urdu that said, I can't breathe. In Urdu, right? This is mind-blowing that I've never seen, right? But then I look at the woman, female cop who murdered Dante Wright. I know you're not agreeing with that, but I feel...
Oh, she murdered him. What do you mean?
No, she murdered him. No, but I'm saying...
Of course she murdered him. What do you think she did? Scare him to death? No, she murdered him. But that's not the point I'm making. I'm saying that even a white woman doesn't have as much privilege as a white man. No. It is actually going to be difficult to get a second-degree murder charge on her. However, manslaughter with her is a slam dunk. This woman was a 26-year veteran. Do you know what she was doing at the time that she shot this 20-year-old kid? She was training another police officer in procedure when she couldn't tell the difference between her little yellow taser and her big 9mm service pistol. It's like, lady, I have no love for firearms at all. My son was working out in front of me. He likes guns and stuff, but he knows I don't. By the way, what shocked his younger brother once is we went to this. It's in Alhambra. It's like BB gun type thing, but it's called something else.
Okay.
Airsoft or something like that.
Don't know.
Xerxes. What's that place in Alhambra called with all the gun stuff? E-Vike, right? Yeah. So
Okay.
me and the 15-year-old go to E-Vike because he wants a new, pellet gun, I guess, or whatever. It's like a BB gun,
Okay.
So he's kind of smirking at me because he knows his dad is like a tree hugging liberal, pansy, So I'm like, you mind if I try to shoot a little? So, because he's missing everything, So I load up, bang, 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 hitting everything. And I handed him the gun back and I said, holder, 4 NRA sharpshooter medals, 3 years younger than you are now. He's like, Jesus, Dad, you're really good with the gun. It's like, how come you hate him so much? It's like,
right.
Because they're not good for anything. It's like target shooting is fine.
That's right.
But even at that, it's like, what am I doing? Why would this is like
Go get another
I'm internalizing some kind of aggressive thing that I don't need to do.
That's right.
But the fact of the matter is that Kim Potter, the murderess, she freaked out for no discernible reason. The difference is that Dante Wright was actually not restrained, and she was afraid he was going to get in the car and drive away. I mean, I'm watching this thing, and I'm like, well, so what if he did? It's like you got his plates, you know who he is, you know where he is. It's like, okay, let him drive. If I was a police officer, I'd go, all right, see ya. Like, aren't you going to radio this in? No. Like, the kid's not high. What did we? Once he got expired tags, we'll find him.
Right.
This is where he lives. We'll go get him. We'll bring him in. We'll impact. Right. Or you take the kid, you get him away from the car, sit down on the curb, and you go, listen, dude, your tags are expired. This car is going to be impounded. Oh, you can't take my car away. It's like, well, then why didn't you pay for your tags?
That's right.
But I would have listened to him if he said, pandemic. We sent our money to the DMV a month ago. We just haven't gotten them yet. I've paid for them. Me being me, I'd be like, yeah, something. It's like, okay, I'll let you go on this. I mean, really, but you got to take this stuff off the mirror, because if it swings, it distracts you. That's why it's against the law. You got to take that stuff down. Okay. By the way, I've been ticketed for that. I have, and I couldn't charm my way out of that one. Yeah, I had like a bunch of laminates from, I think we were doing the car show one year at K-Talk, and Gina and I and Miguel went down there or something like that. And I had 2 laminates. I left them on the mirror, and they're swinging away, and the popo sees this and they pull me over, and I go, I didn't go through the stop sign. I stopped, officer. They go, we know that. They go, like, you can't have anything hanging from the mirror. I go, what kind of ticket is that? He goes, it's nothing. He goes, go, you go, you take them down, evidence that they're not there. I think it's like $28, like a fix it. But you got to go to Hill Street or Temple. What that horror that they line us up outside downtown, and you're out there in the hot
going downtown. Downtown depresses the shit out of me. I cannot go downtown.
I don't mind it, but I don't like jury duty, and I don't like the DMV. So, it's just like,
I'm with you on both of those things. So.
Yeah, I'm just like, But on the issue, Kim Potter's going to get manslaughter. Her career is over, and she's getting manslaughter. She's going to do at least manslaughter. She's going to do 5 to 10 years in the pen.
But John, but the point I was asking you, the question I was asking you, is that they went and got her. Because I was talking to Tawala Sharp about it, and Tawala's like, "Oh yeah, they went and got her real fast. Like they were like, where is she? They're like, home. Just go home and pick her up and press these charges against her." But Derek Chauvin had to take a fucking global movement to be like, oh yeah, We got to try this guy for murdering an innocent black man over $20, forfeited $20 bill. Don't you think that white man, well, a straight white man will always, or at least it seems like thus far, have more privilege than a straight white woman?
Sure. Yeah, I'll grant you that. I'll grant you that. She's in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Though.
If she was a guy, if he was a straight white dude.
No. At this point, no. Same thing would happen to her. Look, Brooklyn Village is 11 miles from downtown Minneapolis. The people who live there have had enough. Okay, so yes, if it was a guy, he would be facing the same thing at this point. Remember that I believe that in Minnesota there was a murder. A cop murdered somebody and was convicted before Chauvin. Chauvin's not the first one up there. So would I like to see this happen more often? Yeah, if it comes up. But what I would really like to see happen more often is that police officers show the general public, especially those that are dark-skinned and male, respect. You know, not all of them are your adversaries.
Right.
Okay. In fact, not all of them are dangerous. Mostly, if you treated them with some respect, they will treat you with respect back.
Right.
People ask me, like, when this neighborhood used to be kind of dangerous, it's been gentrified over the last 20 years or so. But when we first moved here, it was a little nasty, and people wouldn't come over here and they go, well, there are gangs on every street. Aren't you how do you deal with them? And I go, like, I'm not in the drug trade.
Right.
So, I mean, why would they bother me? I am the last person they want to deal with.
That's right.
Why is he living in this neighborhood? We don't know who he is.
Right.
But as soon as they ascertain, it's like he's not a criminal and he's not a dope fiend and he's not in on our terrain.
Right.
Johnny,
my entire block is Russian mafia. Entire block. Russian mafia. But they don't bother me because what do I have to do with them? Nothing. I just go about my business.
No, they don't care. You don't care what they do. They don't care what you do. It's like it's like the gangs are a problem for the Los Angeles Police Department, for the criminal justice system, for the juvenile justice system.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of cops about the general problem with crime in this area and why it goes up and down in these weird spikes. And what they tell me is that you have these guys who will get out on a second or third offense and they'll serve 5 to 8 years for something. And they come back to this neighborhood and all their friends are gone. Their grandparents and their parents sold their homes and moved to Riverside, or they moved to Las Vegas, or they moved to Yuma. They moved to Blythe. They moved somewhere that, they moved to Cathedral City. They moved somewhere that they can afford.
Right.
So they come here and they don't know what to do, and they start tagging, and then they cause trouble, and they inevitably screw up. Cops grab them, they sling them back in for the duration of their term, and they go like, that's just the way it is.
Right.
The idea is to try to keep it manageable. But they go like, look, the 25 years ago it was unmanageable. It's like, at least we can kind of manage it now.
Right. Right. Johnny, do you think like this conviction of Derek Chauvin, do you think that this is kind of sending some kind of chills down the spines of police force around the country, or not really?
I think so.
I hide behind the blue wall. Like, we're coming for you. Justice is coming for you.
I think it might be 50-50.
Okay.
It might be something along the lines of half of them are like, Blue Lives Matter, back the badge, and they dig their heels in, right? Like you had the other night, the one of the Oath Keepers say, we are deeply embedded in the military and in police forces with all this pride, right? Although every lefty is freaking out, oh my God, these fascists are deeply embedded, And I think to myself, yeah, but probably for every one of those, there are 9 cops who are like, the Derek Chauvins of the world have got to go. I am from Eastern Massachusetts, okay, which is a very large Irish American population, which means that you have families of police officers that go back 7 generations of cops. They're deadly serious about what they do, and they take their jobs very seriously. And of course, there's some corruption. I mean, it is Boston, but you have people who realize if we are corrupt, then we are sacrificing our power. Then we have no authority anymore. We are not on the right side. So Boston cops have had surprisingly less issues than New York City cops, Philadelphia police, and stuff. There, it's because it's a generational thing, and also because a lot of Boston policemen live in the neighborhoods that they patrol. That is a huge problem in Minneapolis, and it's an enormous problem in New York City. Okay, where 88% of the NYPD does not live in New York City. They don't even live in Staten Island.
That's right.
They can't afford to live in the city. So whether they live 30 miles out in Long Island, or they live in New Jersey or somewhere, or upstate,
or Queens or Brooklyn or wherever.
No, Mona. Queens and Brooklyn are part of New York City. They don't even live in Queens or Brooklyn. It's like they don't want to live there. For one thing, they're all white. And what are Queens and Brooklyn are not. Okay,
not anymore. Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, they're whiter than they were. Okay, because they're gentrified. People that would have lived in Manhattan 30 years ago live in Brooklyn now. They live in they live in places that you wouldn't have imagined white folks in 25 years ago, like Jackson Heights. Now, what's the neighborhood in Hollis, where Run DMC is from? Hollis. That was all black folks in the 80s. It's not now. Bedford Stuyvesant in Brooklyn is getting gentrified. Red Hook in Brooklyn, a dump, is gentrified. Canarsie, Flatbush. These are desirable neighborhoods. In fact, you know what they worry about?
Canarsie is getting gentrified?
Yeah. Do you know
to New York City? Holy shit.
That?
I said, I need to make a trip to New York City this year. Jesus.
Okay. Do you want to know what most people who live in those neighborhoods, what their big worry is? Is it crime? No, it's global warming. Because if the sea goes up like a few feet, it's going to flood block after block after block after block. Not just at the beach on Rockaway or Coney Island, but everywhere.
That's right.
And by the way, this is endemic of the serious illness on the American right. Okay, global warming has put forth the idea that the sea level rises 2.5 feet. You're talking about acres and acres and acres of Manhattan are now underwater.
That's correct.
And you have that fat pig, Glenn Beck, going, good, let it flood the liberals out. It's like, and he was on Fox News at the time. It's like 1211 6th Avenue. That's where you're broadcasting from, Fatso. You're on Manhattan Island. Okay, if you rolled your lard body down, west, approximately 7 blocks, 8 blocks, now your nose is in the goddamn Hudson. Okay, because the water has risen. You are so keen to stick with this dogma of New York City liberals, Hollywood liberals, Silver Lake, West Hollywood liberals. It's like you sit there and you go, I can't listen to this anymore.
Yeah.
It's like you live among us.
That's right.
You want to live here.
Yep.
You complain about those snobby West Coast elitists. It's like when Donald Trump needed to shake the money tree, where do you think he came first? He didn't go to Iowa. He didn't go to Kentucky.
Manhattan is where the money's at, for God's sake.
No, he didn't go to Manhattan. He went to Brentwood and Bel Air. And so did Obama. Same thing. They come out, they shake the money tree, and they walk away. They do a night's work, and they have $110 million in donations. It's like, and then this putz Donald Trump or people like him. They go like, those West Coast elitists don't understand real America. It's like, you're right, we don't. Now, the next time you come here with your hands out begging for cash, stick it up your ass.
That's right. That's right.
Like we are degenerates and we are the poison that is polluting your Eden on this planet. You know something? You're right. Then stay the hell out of my corner of it.
Right.
You want money from me? Well, I'm a bad one to ask. I ain't got no money, and I know you ain't got no money either. Okay.
No, not after this goddamn pandemic. Are you kidding?
No, I mean, even before, we're middle class people.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, at least I had a little bit more before, but now the pandemic has just eaten up everything. So there's
but I got to tell you something. And this is for whoever. By the way, where's our people today? Where's my friend? Where's James? Yeah.
James is here. He's watching.
James is here. James. James, weigh in, will you?
He had a question. Actually, he said, "Did Johnny see Pelosi's remarks? If so, what do you think?"
James, what did she say? Mona, what did she say? I didn't see it either.
I have no idea.
I do know what the Maxine Waters thing is, that they are really desperately trying to use that as a mistrial. It's like, excuse me, jurors. What did Maxine Waters say? They go, I don't know. we didn't have any. I have no idea what she said. In fact, I don't even know who is Maxine Waters. They don't know. It's like they're like Hail Marying away, hoping anything is going to turn this into a win for the sacred Republican cult. But it's like, guys, like I said earlier, it's over.
I want to read you Pelosi's comments. She said George Floyd should be alive today. His family's calls for justice for his murder were heard around the world. He did not die in vain. We must make sure other families don't suffer the same racism, violence, and pain. And we must enact the George Floyd #Justice and Policing Act, which is great. Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice, for being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that?
No, Nancy, don't turn him into a martyr. He was a regular guy who got screwed. Okay. If he becomes a martyr, he becomes a martyr. You can't do anything about that, but he's not John Brown with his body moldering in the ground. He wasn't an abolitionist. He's just a regular guy, who went to the Packy with a bad $20 bill. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that diminishes his murder. Okay. But what I'm saying is, he's not Rosa Parks. Okay. If you want to use him that way, he's not Medgar Evers. Okay. If you want to use him that way. She said, no, he didn't die for justice. He died because a scumbag crushed his windpipe, James.
That's right.
A douchebag, but I got to tell you two things. One, if you are obsessive about the COVID pandemic, as I am, you will note that in the state of California, or in Los Angeles County, we have not had 1,000 cases a day of COVID in almost a month. Okay. Our infection rate in Los Angeles County is 1.1%. In other words, 100 COVID tests yields 1 positive. Okay. And 0.1 percentage point. Okay. Hospitalizations.
Yeah.
In LA County, there are 32,000 hospital beds, something like that, right? Yeah. There are 470 COVID cases. Okay. Wow. There in the hospital I am most familiar with, where Mrs. Angel Wendell works, there are 2 COVID patients, and neither of them are in the ICU. Okay. This thing is ending. I don't know about Mona, but Mr. Angel Wendell, your friend, has had both shots. Okay. Have you gotten 1 or 2?
I got Johnson & Johnson.
Oh, you got the JJ? Okay. And you didn't get the blood clot in the sinuses?
Didn't get any blood clots, nothing. I mean, it's been over a month now.
Yeah. Okay.
And it shows up in the first 6 to 13 days. I'll do it, Johnny. We're going to wrap up soon, but I do want to point out that 6 people got diagnosed with blood clots, and they were like, that's it, we're shutting it down, not trustworthy. So many thousands of Americans have died at the hands of guns. No gun reform.
However, you have to see is there a particular reason that these batches may have been contaminated. They're just doing their jobs, and they did a good one. Look, to anybody and everybody that's watching, as of the 19th of April, which was yesterday, as my pot-smoking friend can attest to, because the 19th
I was just smoking. I didn't say what it was. I was just smoking. Words being put in my mouth, Johnny.
You've had worse in there. Anyway.
That was an easy setup. That was a very easy setup. Yeah.
Boom. It's like, well, that was a hanging curve.
Johnny,
I hit that one right over the monster.
Johnny, you're welcome. You're welcome.
All right,
yeah.
All right, let me finish. Okay. The pandemic is heading down. Okay.
Yeah.
But as of yesterday, anybody who's over the age of 16 can get the vaccine. You don't have to wait in line. To anybody here who hasn't gotten it yet and they have some trepidation about it, nobody is as big of a candy ass as I am on the issue of dealing with doctors, nurses, and needles. I don't like them. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't get faint. I didn't get sick. I didn't wig. And I got to tell you, I was out in Tarzana getting the second dose and their computers died. So we're out there in line in the hot sun, right? And it's like I'm starting to sweat and I'm like, oh man, this is terrible. They're going to stick the needle in my arm. It's going to go, ugh. No,
Yeah.
that didn't happen. And I got the second, everybody worries about the second dose, right? Because it's, you know, that's the hot rodded dose, right?
Right.
I was fatigued for a full day. I slept an entire day, and I had pain and chills at night. Next day, no nap. I was lifting weights like a pig. A day and a half later.
Pigs
pigs don't live. If pigs did lift weights, I did an hour and a half workout before I got the blast, so I didn't miss anything. Look, what I'm saying is,
get the blast.
Get the blast. Get the blast. Get the blast. We are now at almost 52% of American adults have one dose in them. What that means is this, folks. Okay, you get to 70% of Americans have at least one dose of vaccine, which we should get to it about May 27th, something like that, right? About 4 days before June 1st. At that point, we are now on top of a mountain, looking down at all the buffaloes scurrying in the same direction. Those buffaloes make a herd and they're immune to us. Herd immunity is coming, but it doesn't get here unless you get the blast.
That's right.
Okay?
Get the blast.
Get the blast. Last thought, I got to go get my son and Mona's got to go. Some of you may be familiar with an aged classic rock musician by the name of Ted Nugent. Do you know who Ted Nugent is, Mona? Yeah, okay. You have to understand, somebody from my generational standpoint, Ted used to sell out the Boston Garden once a year. He was a big deal, okay?
Right.
So he was a big star. I never liked him, though. I always thought he was just he was asinine, you know? But anyway, Ted didn't believe that COVID was anything. Like the flu, if it even exists at all, you know, he said it's a big hoax and make a big production out of it.
Denier, huge denier. Right.
Yeah, but a funny thing happens to people who
it does.
Do that
because
is
God
that
has a great sense of humor. Johnny, God has an excellent sense of humor.
Whatever. Okay. So the Nuge now is gone public and said, for the last 7 to 10 days, I've never been this sick. And he's trying to give an interview in between coughing, and he goes like, I've got that Chinese. And I'm like going, God, you're an asshole to the bitter end, aren't you? You know, and he's just like, he's going on and on about, you know, are you going to get the vaccine now? Because, by the way, even if you've had COVID, and yes, you do. You do have to wait 90 days. You get the vaccine. The vaccine helps long haulers. You know, it cuts into your symptoms. It helps the body start fighting this thing off. Oh, I don't know what's in it. You don't know what's in it. Okay. You didn't believe that what's in you now existed or it was serious. Okay. Precisely. Now you know it's serious. You know, we don't know what's in the vaccine. He said, in other words, nobody knows. So you're talking about people who've been working on RNA-based vaccines now for about 17 years. Okay. The vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, the one in my arm, the J&J, the one in yours, okay, is derived in some ways from research that was done on SARS-1. SARS-1 about 9 years ago.
Right, COVID is SARS-2.
This is SARS-2. So if you want to know why the vaccine was so fast, is because they'd done about 80% of the legwork. And once they said, this is SARS too. This is the same damn thing. You know, once they isolated it, which by the way, they did in what, 5 weeks?
Yep.
Okay. And via the internet and via computers, they were like, now we know exactly what this thing is. Okay. This is SARS-2. This is a SARS infection. It came from an animal, you know, and crossed over into people like SARS-1 did.
Right.
This is what we'll do. That's why vaccines. All right. You're now looking in America, over half of adults in America have at least one dose in them. Okay. Which means that probably as we start to get into May, in a couple of weeks, everywhere in America, you'll start to see the numbers plummet. Okay.
Right.
And remember, when people go like, well, it's a vaccine and a vaccine wears out. Okay. First of all, people who were in the Moderna and Pfizer tests a year ago still have antibodies. Okay. The ones that were in the test. Secondly, why are there vaccines? Okay. Vaccines are to buy time. What medical science wants, okay, is to be able to create, and Merck is testing one of these now. Medical science wants a Z-Pack for coronaviruses. You know what a Z-Pack is, right?
I know exactly what a Z-Pack is.
An antiviral. Okay.
Right.
If you have an antiviral treatment that makes this basically an unpleasant cold with like bronchitis and maybe occasionally pneumonia, you know, and it doesn't kill anybody. I mean, look, Mona, you and I can get COVID. We can still. Yeah. You know, we're not 100% protected. The thing is, neither of us are going to the ICU, you know, and end up on a gurney with the tube down our throats. That's not going to happen.
No, and
singing
you know,
my own songs
we're also
now.
building our own immune system here, so we're doing just fine. We're doing just fine.
No, I mean, I you know, I've had COVID vaccine in me for 5 weeks, and I got hot rodded 5 days ago. I'm good. In 7 days, I'll be 96% protected. As it is, I'm already 85% protected as is. And you know what I still do whenever I go out?
Wear the damn mask. That's right.
When this thing goes down to where there are 5,000 cases a day in America, then I'll take my mask off. Then it's whooped. Then it's beat. Then it's, you know, it's in the hollers somewhere.
I agree.
Mona, thank you so much for having
Johnny
me.
Wendell, always a pleasure, my friend. Always a friend. Thank you very much. We will see you soon. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. That was a lovely Johnny Wendell. James said, thanks, Mona and Johnny. Another great chat. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Love you both. Love you too, James. You guys, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. You can go to youtube.com/Mona Shake Comedian. Also on TikTok and Facebook of the same name. And also on Instagram and Twitter at Mona's Comedy. I will see you tomorrow with a brand new guest. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow.